Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today, inshallah, we will read chapter 2, page number 14, Oxford Modern English, grade 3. First, words to know. Chisel, a metal tool used to cut or shape the wood. Clumsy, lacking skill or grace. Awkward, complain, to say you are unhappy without something. Couple, two people who are married. Earn, received money for work done. Fetch, to go after and bag something and bring something. Nod off, to go to sleep. Once upon a time, in a small town in Germany, there lived a man called Kurt. He lived with his son Manfred and his daughter-in-law Thekla. They all shared a little old house at the end of a quiet street in the middle of town. Manfred was carpenter. He spent all his time in a workshop next to the house. He had learned carpentry from his father, who had been famous carpenter in his days. Kurt had taught his son well, and the son earned a good living. He made furniture for the people of town, and from time to time he did some carving. The young couple, Manfred and Thekla, had a son called William. The boy liked to sit in the workshop to watch his father as he grew older. He helped his father by fetching and carrying things. He learned to clean the tools and take care of them. He learned how to use a saw and a hammer and a chisel. And his grandfather taught him to, to, car, to carve wood into wonderful shape. The grandfather was very old now and getting older every day. He was not very strong. His eyes were dim. He couldn't see well. Sometimes his hand shook and sometimes he sat in a chair and nodded off. In the evenings, when they all sat down to the dinner at the table, Manfred and Thekla used to get angry with the old grandfather. He was slow and clumsy, sometimes broke a glass, sometimes he dropped a spoon, and sometimes he spilled soup on his clothes. He was an old man after all. One day during the evening meal, the old man dropped his plate on the floor. Crash! It smashed into 100 tiny pieces and food fell all over the place. Thekla and Manfred began to clean up the floor, but how angry they were. After that accident, they brought him a cheap wooden bowl from the market and gave him his dinner in that. They made the old man sit by himself in the corner of the room to eat his food. The old man was sad. He kept quiet and didn't complain. One evening, not long afterwards, Thekla and Manfred had finished work for the day and were preparing the evening meal. When the meal was ready, they called for Wilhelm. They looked in his room and he was not there. Where could the boy be? Asked the Thekla. Manfred had no idea. He asked the old man if he had seen Wilhelm, but the old man shook his head. Thekla and Manfred became a little worried and looked out on the street. The Wilhelm was not there. Then they saw a light on the workshop. They went to look. They stepped into workshop and found their son sitting on the floor. He was cutting a small block of wood and working as hard as he could. Ah, there are you, said Thekla. What are you making, son? Asked Manfred. Wilhelm put down the block of wood and chisel. He looked up at his parents. I'm making a wooden bowl for you to eat from when you are old, replied the boy. The parents looked at each other, their eyes filled with tears. Come, the dinner is ready, said Thekla softly, and she put her arms around the son, and three of them went back to house. After this, Thekla and Manfred always asked the old grandfather to sit with them at the table. This was a small story in which Thekla, Manfred, and Wilhelm and the old man are the character, because old man was getting older day by day, and he used to drop glasses and plates and crockery down the floor and broke. So Thekla and Manfred annoyed by his act, so they bought a cheap wooden bowl for him and also given him to eat in it and sit by herself in a corner house. And by watching this, Manfred started to make a wooden bowl for his parents to eat in their old age when they will old. This incident, when Thekla and Manfred watched their son doing this incident impressed them a lot, that they feared, and also the tears came in their eyes, and also they always call the grandfather to sit by themselves at the table for the lunch. This is a sweet story. You must have to read with good expression. Okay, this is the old man. This is his son. Thank you, and keep watching for the next video. In next video, inshallah, we will show you how to solve the exercise of the wooden bowl.